Hi everyone, how are you all? I hope all of you are fine and okay. In this video tutorial, I'm going to demonstrate how to use index and match function and how to use the combination of index and match function so that you can overcome the limitations of VLOOKUP functions and HLOOKUP functions. By using the combination of index and match function, you can easily overcome the limitations of VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP functions, because whenever you are going to use the VLOOKUP function, you have to use the first column. Okay, if you are going to go for the vertical lookup functions, or if you are going to go for the horizontal lookup functions, then you have to always stick with the top row. But by using the combination of index and match functions, you can overcome these limitations easily. So in this tutorial video, I'm going to demonstrate how to use the combination of index and match functions. In this video tutorial, we are going to use Microsoft Excel 2019. I'm not going to wait any longer. Okay, let's start. Okay, I'm starting Excel. Okay, so you have to use Windows and R. Here is the run command. Here you have to write Excel, then exe. If you have Microsoft Excel or any version of Microsoft Excel, and the default Excel will start. In this case, we have Microsoft Excel 2019. So I'm starting a new blank workbook. Click on new. Here is the window. We are going to use a small table, so let's create the table first, then I'm going to explain how to use the combination of index and match function. So here is the table first. I'm starting from here. I'm going to create 5 columns. I'm going to write the column names first. Think about, we are going to use role here, student roles. Okay, here names, ID, exam A result or the score, annual exam. So roles, I'm going to think about, you can write 1. I'm going to create a small table, so I'm going to use autofill here. So autofill it and use up to 15 here. And name, I'm just using ABCD first. Very quickly think about, here you can use John. Okay, here you can use Mac. Here you can use Toy. These are the names. Think about, these are the names. Okay, these are the roll numbers. And here we have student ID. Think about a random ID. Okay, I'm going to create like 5060. Okay, 7. Okay, think about, this is a student ID, and the next one is 5060 and 71. Okay, I'm autofilling this quickly. I'm just trying to create a small table. Here the ID is from 70 to 84. Okay, here exam score. Think about, exam score is 89 and here 87, and I'm just quickly autofilling. And annual exam, think about, here 95 and here 94. Just autofilling it quickly. ID, exam A result, so roll using different colors. Okay, so these are the columns. So the first, the name of the first column is roll, second one is name, third one is ID, fourth one is exam A, and the fifth one is annual exam. These are the results. I didn't use example names here. Our focus is to use student IDs and to get other data. In this video tutorial, I'm going to use the vertical way. Okay, vertical way, in the combination of index and match functions to find data based on vertical data. Okay, based on vertical data, or just like the way you use the vertical lookup. Okay, instead of using the vertical lookup, we are going to use the combination of index and match function. Okay, if you apply the vertical lookup, then this column, the column that you are going to use for vertical lookup, has to be the leftmost column, so it can't be in the middle. But in this tutorial, we are using the combination of index and match function, so our focus is to demonstrate how to use any column, and look for other data. Okay, here I'm writing something like index. Okay, index and match, and here we are going to mark the center. Okay, so index and match, we are going to use two different functions. The first one is index and the second one is match. Two different functions, and we are going to combine that so that we can find our data, okay, easily, instead of using the vertical lookup. Here our focus is to use this column, this ID column. Instead of using the vertical lookup, we are going to use the combination of index and match functions. Let's write the name of these columns. Okay, here we are going to, here the first one is ID. Okay, think about first one is ID. Okay, and we are going to copy from here and we are going to paste from here. Okay, the second one is role, third one is name. And one thing you have to remember here, that the column names must be exact. Okay, the column names, you cannot use other column names, okay, because whenever you are going to use the match functions and you are going to work with column names, then the column names has to be same. That's why we are not using different names here. Okay, we are using the exact name we have here. Okay, so our focus is to use this ID. Okay, these vertical, okay, these IDs, we are going to use these IDs. Okay, so I'm using a different color here, so we are going to use these IDs, so copying it here and pasting it here. Okay, so what we want to do, we are going to use ID here. Okay, we will copy one ID from here in this vertical column, and then we are gonna paste the ID here. Whenever we are going to paste the ID here, other four data will show up here, and we have to use the combination of index and match functions to do so, because we are not using the vertical lookup function. Okay, why we can't use the vertical lookup functions? Because if you have an idea about the vertical lookup function, then you should know that you can't use the vertical lookup function here where the column is not the leftmost column. Okay, vertical lookup function, you can use the vertical lookup function for the first column, okay, because it is the leftmost column. Okay, but here we are going to use the ID column, and we are going to show other data here, okay, based on this ID column. And this ID, we are going to place this ID here. We are going to copy one ID from this ID column and we are going to paste it here. Whenever we are going to change this data, other data will be changed based on that ID. And which function we are going to use first? We are going to use the index function first. Why? Because index function is returning the value, okay, and we want to see the value, not the reference. But what about the match function? If you know about the match function, then you have an understanding that match function is going to deliver the reference position or reference location of that data, okay, instead of the value. But index function is going to return the value, okay, it is not going to give the reference position. Okay, that's why we are going to use the index function first. Okay, so we are going to apply functions here in these four cells, and we are going to get the ID from this cell. Okay, so let's start using the combination of index and match functions. Okay, so an equal sign first. This is the address bar, and here we are going to place the equal sign first, and then we are going to use the index function in. Okay, as soon as you are going to type in, you will see IntelliSense, you will see Excel IntelliSense, and it will show, and then you can press tab. Okay, because you are not moving here. So we are going to use the first one, write index function in two different ways. Okay, we are going to use the first one. We are going to use three different values, three different parameters. Okay, the first one is the array, the second one is row number, and the third one is column number. We are going to use this icon function. Just click on this function and you will see an option will be given to you which type of index function, which type of parameters you are going to pass. We are going to pass the first type of parameters. Okay, we are going to use the three parameters, and that's why I'm choosing the first one right now. Now look at the first one, index function. Index function returns a value, or index function returns a value or reference of the cell at the intersection of a particular row and column in a given range. Okay, so array, the first one is array. We are going to use the whole table here. We are going to use the whole. We have 5 columns, 15 different rows, okay, 16 different rows. Okay, here array, whenever you move the cursor, okay, in different cells, then you will see here it will be written, the direction is written here, is the array is a range of cells or any or an array constant. Okay, so in this scenario we are going to use the whole one. Here we have a small table data array. I'm going to choose all of it. Okay, but you can use a specific part, but here we are using all 5 columns, that's why I am selecting all, but you can select as you wish. Okay, you can use the first 2 columns, first 3 columns, or last 4 columns, or any other columns, but here I'm going to keep it simple, that's why I'm selecting the whole. Even though we have a small table here, but I'm choosing all of it. Okay, all of it as an array. Other values will be picked from this array, and we are not going to, this is a relative reference. Okay, B2 F17. Okay, B2 F17, B2 is this one and F17 is this one. We are not going to change this, and because of that we are going to keep it absolute. Okay, we are not going to use the relative reference, we are going to keep it as absolute reference because we are not going to change it. That's why pressing F4 from the keyboard and making it absolute. Okay, here you can see it is absolute now. Now you have to use row number and column number. Okay, here row number selects what it does actually. Row number selects the row in array or reference from which to return a value. Here you have to use the row number because we are going to use the row numbers here, and our row number is this. We are going to pick ID, right? We are going to pick ID, so this is our focus column, third one actually. Here we are going to use the match function to find the row number. Okay, so I'm writing match. We are going to use the match function to find the row number, and also we are going, and again we are going to use the match functions to find the column number. Okay, the first one, let's find the row numbers first using the match. So what you are going to do, write match and then use double parenthesis. Okay, opening parenthesis and closing parenthesis because it is a function, and then move your cursor here and you will see this dialog box is changed, and now it is showing the match function related arguments. Okay, if you use the match function, then you will see you will have to use 3 different values. Okay, the first one is lookup value, then lookup array, and the match type. If you use match type here, the match type is only 3 different values are there. One is 1 or 0 or -1, and we are going to use the 0. To understand it nicely, you can use the help lookup value. Our lookup value is going to be the row number. Okay, so we are going to find the lookup value from where? We are going to find the lookup value from this here actually, because we are going to get the IDs from here, and this ID is going to come from this column, number 3 column. Okay, so but lookup value it can be a number. Okay, lookup value can be a number, lookup value can be a text or other things. So we are going to get this lookup value from this cell, because we are going to change the cell ID from here. We are going to copy one ID from this column and then we are going to paste it. So this lookup value is going to come from this ID cell. Okay, place your cursor here and then place here, then you will see, and this is a relative reference and we want to make it absolute. Why we are going to make it absolute? Because we don't want to change the ID cell value, because we will copy one ID from this column and then we are going to paste it. We are not going to change that one, and we want to see its associated values, other values, role, name, exam A score or annual exam score. Okay, let's make it absolute. Okay, so I'm selecting it and then I'm pressing F4. Okay, now it is an absolute value. Okay, now lookup array, this cell value, lookup array value is from where? We are selecting this ID value. Okay, this ID is coming from where? So you have to go there, and it is row, right? This one is one row, this another row, this another row value. The second index part is you are looking for the row number, so we are going to pick one row number from here and we are going to use this ID value as row. So our row is coming from this column, right? So lookup array has to be this column because ID is coming from this column. So place your cursor there and select all of it. You are not going to change it, right? So you are going to make it absolute. Why we are converting into absolute values? Because we are not going to write this function again and again, and we are going to just use autofill to fill all these. Okay, that's why we are making it absolute. We are not going to change it because id value we are not going to change, it will be absolute, right? So this one is also absolute. And match type we are going to use, you can use 3 different values. Okay, we didn't make this value absolute, so we have to make this value absolute. Okay, IDs, these IDs has to be absolute, so we missed it to make it absolute, so we are making it absolute. Okay, and clicking OK, and we are gonna use the second value, which is 0, and 0 will return the exact match. Okay, here you can see match type is a number, it can be 1 or 0 or -1, indicating which value to return. And to learn more about it, you can check the help option. Okay, but we are going to use the 0 value here because we are going to find the exact match and the first match, exact and the first match. It will return the exact and the first match, so using 0 here. Now the first option is done, and we are using this match function to find the row number. Okay, find the row number. This is one row, this is another row, and this row number will be collected out of these IDs and from this cell. Okay, so this one is done, and you can use OK here. And here you have to use, because index we have to give 3 different parameters. This is our first parameter and this is our second parameter, and we will have to use another parameter, and we are going to give comma, and then we are going to use match again. The first one is match, so if you press tab it will be written for you. Closing the parenthesis there, place the cursor in between the parentheses, and then click on the function value. Now this match function again, and here you can find the column numbers. Okay, so let's find the column numbers. We are using the function here, so we are going to focus on this name. So columns are coming from this, these are the column names, right? And we have used column names here, so this lookup value is going to come from these are the columns. Okay, so this lookup value is going to come from column name, right? So place the cursor here and place here, and this we are not going to make it absolute. Why we are not going to make it absolute? Because whenever we are going to drag it down and we are going to autofill these cells, we don't want to make the value absolute, because when we are going to autofill to the next one, if it is not absolute value, if it is a relative value, then relative reference, then it will move to the next one and it will find it automatically. The next one is name and it will match that name. Okay, so you don't have to worry. So here, that's why we are not going to make it absolute, so you have to remember this one, right? Okay, now this lookup array, this column name is coming from this column, right? And we know that if you are familiar with the match function, then you know that whenever you are going to use the match function, you can use columns or you can use rows. So we can use in our first case, okay, when we have chosen the row numbers, we have used the columns, and now we have to use the column number here, and these are the column numbers, and these are the column names. Column numbers means column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, column 5, right? And we are going to, instead of column numbers, we are going to use the column names, right? And the column names is coming from this one. Whenever we are going to move it down, it will pick automatically. Okay, so the lookup array is this column name is coming from this column numbers. Okay, these column names, these are the column numbers. Okay, and we are picking the column numbers, and instead of number we are using the match function to find the column names exactly. Here we have given h5 is representing role, so we are going to pick that role out of these columns, right? Place the cursor here and select these column names. Okay, and this one we are not going to change it. We don't want to change it. Whenever we are going to move it down, we don't want to move it down, so we are making it absolute, and we want it to be fixed, right? So select it and press F4, making it absolute, and we want to get the exact match. We are not going to use 1 or -1. You can use the 1 to find the equal or less than, okay, equal value or less than that value, or you can use -1 to get equal or greater than values. Okay, so instead of using 1 or -1, just using 0 here right now to get the exact match, placing 0 here. Okay, you can press OK. So here it is showing NA, that because we didn't use any value here. So let's drag it down. Okay, we want to autofill it and it will be automatically filled. Okay, now we don't have to change anything. So here is the value. We didn't give the value here. Let's give the value here. Okay, I'm picking John's ID first. What we have to do, we have to use one ID from here and place it here. You can see it is John's related data, right? John's ID is 506079, roll number 10, name John, exam 1A score is 71, then annual exam score is 86. We are picking another data from here and placing it here. You can see Dory related data. Okay, Dory's roll here 4 and then 83 and then 92. So in this way you can use the index and match functions easily, and you can also make it a little bit more powerful by using another function. You see, by using another function you can make it more powerful. I'm using an additional thing here. You can merge it and you can write it without if error function, without if error. Okay, without if error function. Okay, this is the result. Okay, you can copy the whole thing. Okay, and you can paste it here. Okay, and then you can write it here with if error. Okay, with if error. Let's see with if error what happens. Okay, with if error. Okay, so here I'm moving it out. Here the number is not changed because we have ID here. Okay, so just moving this ID from here. See, result is gone. Now you have to change a little bit and just erasing these values. Okay, we are going to use this one. So this one is NA, but here in this scenario we are going to use this cell. We have to use this, the second match one, and then click on this function. Okay, and we are not going to use this ID, so instead of this ID for this cell we are going to use this one. Okay, so we have to make it absolute. So this one is done. Okay, another thing you have to change here, roll, we have to use this one. Okay, and then instead of age 14, okay, we are going to use this one. Okay, age 14, and this will not be absolute. Okay, clicking on OK, this one is done. So I'm dragging it down. Let's check it using this one, copying it here and pasting it here. The values are coming, right? 13 Mac, and then 65, and then 83, right? But here in this scenario, if you place this one, you will see the same result, right? So I'm copying it one here and pasting it here. Yeah, okay, and now we are going to use one additional function here. So before the index function you can use if error function. If error, then you can use the tab to write the if error function for you, and if error function is going to have two different parameters. The first one is the value. Here is our value, and we have the function here, the combination of index and match functions, and then we are going to use a string, right? A string, that is, if the ID is not valid, then we are going to write ID not match, ID not found. Okay, ID not found. Okay, and then we are going to close our index. So this one is done now, and we are copying and pasting it here. Here we have used if error function, and what we have done here, if error is going to take only two arguments. One is value and value if error. Okay, if value is not found, then it will display ID not found. Okay, because we are going to get all other details based on this ID field, right? If there is a ID and we didn't use this ID, like think about we have 5060 or 86. Okay, and this is the value that we didn't include in our table array, right? That's why I'm using a different color here. We didn't include. See the function, see first one, see the first one. If you click on the function, you can see the table array. We picked the whole table, but we didn't include this field, so this ID is not valid even though it is within this column, but we didn't include this one within our array here. So that's why this ID is not, even though it is within the same column, it is not a valid ID. in this scenario we have used if error function. So if you pick a wrong ID and if you place it here, then you will see ID not found. So you will understand a little bit better that this ID is not found or ID is not valid. So if you pick again one value from here and place it here, you will see the result. See this related result. If you place one from here, place this here, you will see DOE, the associated data related to DOE. Okay, so in this scenario, the combination of index match functions is much more powerful compared to the vertical lookup function and horizontal lookup function. After using the combination of index function, if you combine it again with the IFERROR function, then you'll be able to understand it better if the ID is not going to match. See, I'm copying it here again and pasting it here. ID not found. But if you place the same ID here, you will see it is NA. So by seeing the NA, you will not understand anything. But here, if you use the if-else function, you will see that ID not found. That means ID is not a valid ID, or because you didn't include the ID within the index array. Okay, that's why it is not found, and it will be easy for you to understand. Instead of seeing the NA, you will notice that ID didn't match here. The ID you are picking from somewhere else, or that is not included within the index, find data from a big table, okay, or from a small table like this. Okay, in the combination of index and match function is much more powerful than the vertical lookup function or horizontal lookup function. So I'm using the value again, copy it here, okay, and you will see the result. Copy it here and you will see the result. Okay, and I'm copying it again and you will see ID not found. So I hope that you have understood how to use the combination of index and match functions to get the value that you are looking for. Okay, or you can easily get the value that is required. Okay, and you can any different columns. If you use the vertical lookup, you will not be able to use the third column. Okay, if you use the vertical lookup, the column has to be the leftmost column. Okay, if the horizontal lookup, it has to be the top row. Okay, something like that. But if you use the combination of index and function, work with your data much more efficiently. Okay, so I hope that you have understood how to use the combination of index and match functions, and it will help you to sort your data quickly. It will help you to get the required data much more efficiently. In this video tutorial, I have tried to explain how to use the combination of index and match functions. Okay, and then I have tried to explain how to use the IFERROR function to increase the readability. Okay, so it will help you to do your Excel task very easily and efficiently. I hope that you will enjoy using the combination of index and match function and the combination of IFERROR function. Okay, you are welcome to watch other tutorial videos in our channel. If you like any video, then please don't forget to like, share or subscribe. You are welcome to share with anyone else. See you in the next tutorial video. Until then, take good care of yourself. Bye.